Sentry mode activated. Target acquired.
Hey there hunters, welcome back to the Gunners Guild. So today we're going to talk about the best utility buff in the game, how it works, and why it's basically invalidating everything else. So just a heads up though, big thanks to Qwas and Tidus and Raptor and the Gen Cord for keeping me motivated to try out stuff, because motivation for this game is kind of fleeting, to be honest. And also thanks to Fandirus for the mods that will be keeping this game entertaining, but those are a little ways away. But anyway, let's just dive into this. So Pump Up is a buff skill from Deviljho that was mostly ignored or overlooked so far. It gives you a damage buff for 5 turns when fully upgraded, and also lowers the user's defense. Sadly, that's all Capcom wanted to share with us. Now what it really does is give you a 70% attack modifier, which is flippin' insane. Now to understand why Pump Up is so good, is we need to take a look at the damage formula that we now have for Monster Hunter Stories 2. Now, normal buffs like Ultra Voltage, Valiant Flare, Dragon Surge, and stuff like that increase your elemental damage by 30%, which is pretty good. That goes here in the formula under bingo corrections, so they're effectively more bingo bonuses, which isn't too shabby. It's like 6 bingo bonuses. It's good. Now in this formula, I'm using a hypothetical monster defense and hit zone because I'm not looking all that stuff up. And I'm using a 40 power move, which is a medium power type attack, and 65 additional power from All Out. But in this scenario, it makes sense. 355 damage with 3 elemental bingos and 2 attack bingos, no buffs, and 428 damage with a generic elemental buff. See, now what makes Pump Up so crazy is that unlike other buffs which just apply an elemental bonus, or essentially a bingo bonus, Pump Up applies a 1.7 times modifier right to your monster's attack stat, which will obviously get multiplied by all your other modifiers you have, including your existing bingos. So it really makes your damage take off. Like, see here with the same setup, if I just multiply its attack from 500 to 850, which is 1.7 times, I'm at 609 damage for a hit, where I was getting 428 before. And this is with no 30% buff bonus from having a buff. This is just Pump Up. Pump Up was overlooked probably due to the downside of having a 30% defense penalty, which is pretty negligible, to be honest. I mean, like in Super Elder layers, you're going to get 2-tapped anyways. But also, Capcom didn't really tell us how big of a buff it was or what kind of a buff. And players were also new and still trying to figure out systems and didn't have high enough level monsters to see the kind of crazy growth you can have. So the Pump Up gene. What do we do with this now that we know what it's about? It's a dragon type gene with no attack, so it kind of ruins all the bingos except for dragon type monsters. Well, thankfully you can fit 2 off-color genes in any monster on the sides, so you're only going to lose a 15% bingo bonus for your element mismatch, which isn't too bad. So you're kind of free to slap in like All Out or Crit XL and Pump Up onto pretty much any monster effectively. And because this applies to your attack stat, which is going to be whatever element your monster is, it's basically the best buff in the game. And there's not much of a reason to use the other ones unless, there's a few choices like, hit Valiant Fire if you want that 1 extra turn of bonus damage, or Dragon Surge, which also applies extra crit, which is pretty invaluable. So basically any monster can throw this on and just go to town. Like literally any monster can make this thing work really well. So the other cool thing about Pump Up is that because it's applying to your base attack and scaling everything that way, lower power moves have less of an issue compared to higher powered ones. Like if I change the base power of the move here from 40 to 80 to be a high powered one, I get 30 more damage on the hit. Big whoop. So we can also go back and grab some lower powered skills and have extra utility, like all those skills that have bonus crit, which are looking way more appealing now because they're giving you 20% more crit. And skills with extra status effects and other things like Mach Punch with priority. Like Pump Up just kind of opens up a lot of doors for these lower powered genes, which also means we could bring some life into other things like water monsters. Like Mizu with Pump Up kind of shreds. Even though no water attack can crit, she can still throw out 1.7 to 2k hits non-crit all day against like TO and Bloodbath and such. And that's pretty sweet if you ask me. Now water was severely lacking, but Pump Up is like a great equalizer for the gene pool. It can make anything work. Now the obvious downsides besides the 30% defense loss is that more and more we're going to be seeing monster genes get homogenized, so we just have like the same basic spread on every monster, which is going to be more the case now. Typically you want, you know, 1 power, 1 tech, and 1 speed attack for coverage, and then your element up and a buff. And then all the other genes are just filler for your bingos. So I feel like a lot of monsters are going to be running similar setups now, to the point where there's going to be like 1, maybe 2 options for each element type at most, and then you just slap it on whatever monster frame. And that's kind of a shame. Now, that being said, we do have new Deviants and Cove just around the corner, so hopefully they bring in some new genes to the gene pool, and I'm really hoping Cove bring back like dietary genes or itemized genes, or just something that we can farm Cove for, because that would be really cool. But yeah, that's basically Pump Up in a nutshell though. It's overall the best buff in the game, and I don't really think that's going to change anytime soon. So get to farming for those Joes and start slapping on all your Monsees. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and good luck out there, hunters.